All right, guys, I'm very excited for my submission for Ignite. My name is Ken from the company WaveTen in the Netherlands. So imagine you're a security guard. You run a high-level security center, and you have multiple screens, just like this. You're watching that with 10 of your colleagues at 10 different monitors, 24/7 in your control center. Everybody is very tired. Everybody is having a burnout. And you check an alarm. You have to check an alarm. Is it a door? Is it a broken door? Is somebody breaking in my tech center? I don't know, but I have to check. So you look at multiple screens, and suddenly you discover it's a false alarm again. You scream in your head. And this happens daily across multiple sites. And study shows that you have almost 1,000 alarms per day per site. So if you have 10 sites, that means 10,000 false alarms per day. And 95% of them are just non-events, are just false positives. So what can you do about it? Not much, because everything is manual work, until suddenly you receive a mail, which is like this. OPEX, operational expenditure, 6.9 million false alarms. I peaked your 18 sites across the US. Okay, let's see. You click on this mail, and then you receive this mail. 18 sites, okay, you scan, 2 minutes try time. That sounds about right. And, well, 74 full-time employees. Okay, let's see what this is all about. Annual labor burden, 153,000 hours. Estimated annual time, $6.9 million in labor. That's quite a lot, because my budget is about 50 million. I think it is about right. Okay, nearly half of your security organization may be spending their time. I do notice these names, TikTok and VMware, they achieve 95% false positive reduction using their existing security infrastructure, no additional headcount, and no hardware replacement required. Would make sense to explore whether we can deliver similar results for you. This sounds interesting. Let's just see what this is all about. So if I'm a security guard, I'm definitely going to check this website, and then based on the text here, I would respond again. So what's happening in this person's head, this security head? You might think, okay, I might eliminate 95% of the false positives, might have like a higher ROI as well, based on the conversation, of course. So what's happening in the backend? Of course, I had to look at admin AI, what kind of pain point are they solving, who has these pain points, who's suffering this most, and who has the budget. And basically, I was thinking about if you have multiple sites in the US with high intellectual property or high employee count, because that also means like they have hundreds or thousands of cameras across multiple sites. I want to target USA, because everything's English and it's easier to get budget for that, and mainly in these sectors, tech, pharma, and manufacturing. I look for employees count where that's more than 500 in USA again, and multiple sites, which is important, because if there's only one site, maybe they don't need my cameras that much. Maybe it isn't that pressing, because they need a whole team, right? A whole security team to look at all of these sites. So what is the problem? It's basically this: the amount of false positive alarms is just too damn high. A lot of the security operators are burned out and desensitized. So that means like you have like these tailgates that might generate the real alert, but 95% of them are just false. So it creates a lot of dangerous blind spots. And then, as Helen Keller said, who is the CEO of this problem? Then you would think it's the director and the VP of security of these sites. They own the security budget, has operating strategy for security, has to look at the risk of the whole enterprise, and they fear that someday maybe a catastrophic incident might happen. That could have been avoided, but maybe there was a missed alarm, or maybe something wasn't working. They fear budget cuts for less staff members, not so concentrated security team, and they're looking for ways of how to get better response for real incidents, and especially like with security systems with a measurable ROI. If you just translate that with reclaimed labor hours and some false alarm reductions. So if you're thinking in the head of the director of security of these sites, why would they say yes? It's basically because 95% of the hours can be reclaimed. So that means that if 95% of the false positive alarms, and there are 1,000 alarms, and each alarm takes about 2 minutes to watch, then about 8,500 hours is wasted per year per site. This number is also corresponding with the study from this company. And that also means about 380,000 is spent on non-events, just checking on non-events. This number is basically multiplied with 8,500 times the average salary of a security guard in the USA. And of course, you want to be going from reactive to proactive. And using AI, you can also monitor 10 times as big of the area with 10 times less time and stress. And there are also other factors, of course. So, like if in the line here with the TikTok and VMware, they achieve 95% false positive reduction using existing security infrastructure, no additional headcount, and no hardware replacement required. So that's a technology improvement with also some social proof, of course. So based on this, I'm quite intrigued about this, and then I would also just say yes. Let's just have a conversation and then see how can they help. So if you look at this copy again, there are certain variables that can be plotted and calculated. In this case, I would just use Clay, and let me show you how this would look like. So in Clay, I would have these numbers using these industries, right? And then in the company sector, I would have these normal ones, and I would also use ClayGent to ask for how many sites are there based on different factors, how many headquarters, all in the USA. So this can be all found, of course. I'm not running all of my rows, because otherwise I would run my budget down. And let's see. I would also ask how many security guards there are based on LinkedIn. If I can't find it, then I would just calculate it by using a ratio of 1 to 500 employees, right? So I would always have something in terms of site counts and security guard counts. And then based on this, I can also just calculate the amount of wasted hours using a very simple formula. Now, this is what I've mentioned earlier, and with the $45 per hour. And I would also have the amount of full-time employees, basically this number divided by a full-time employee hours. And I would also have this less than half, which is basically saying like this. I'm just like saying if the amount of total FTE divided by security guard count falls in certain bracket, then give me a word, and it basically gives you this this variable, nearly half of your security. It should have been yellow. So once I have this, then I can just find the people. So again, I'm just looking in Clay, looking for chief of security officer with certain seniority levels, and then based on this, there's a whole list of people that I can reach out to. I would also look up values from my company's table, and then I would send the variables to Smartlead. I don't have the API of Clay, so I had to work around with the text like this, but I did make a campaign in Smartlead, so it would look something like this already, right? So you have the first name, site count, total wasted hours, wasted costs. This should also be a variable, and then it would look like this. Well, I haven't sent everything yet, but basically, if I have a subscription at Clay, I have to fix a little bit, and then this would be ready. So then we can send it to all of these security guards. All right, guys, this was my submission. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm curious. All right, good luck. Bye bye. May the best man win.